The wipers moved back and forth, but Benjamin could still barely see the road. Lagos rain was not gentle that night. It came down in long, angry lines that hammered the windshield of his black Bentley and turned the busy junction into a blur of lights, horns, and water. Benjamin's hands were tight on the steering wheel. His head pounded. It had been a long day of meetings, phone calls, and decisions. He was the kind of man people called when everything was falling apart. Contracts, banks, staff, investments. He was the billionaire everyone wanted something from. But right now, he wanted only one thing: home. He thought of his daughter, Eliana. 17, soft smile, sharp mind. First year in the university, studying software engineering. His greatest treasure, his only child. The traffic light at the junction turned red. Cars slowed to a stop. Horns screamed as Danfoss tried to cut into tiny spaces. Benjamin sighed and leaned back in his seat. Rainwater ran like silver, snakes down the glass. Then he saw them. At first, they were just two shapes by the side of the road. A man and a woman, standing in the rain with no umbrella, clothes glued to their bodies, shivering. The woman's hand was stretched out, begging. Cars moved past them like they were invisible. Benjamin looked once, then looked again. His heart stopped. The woman's face, her eyes, the way she held herself, even in shame. Something in his chest twisted painfully. No, it cannot be. He leaned forward, eyes wide, trying to see through the rain. The woman's hair was soaked and scattered around her face. She wore a tattered blue ankara that clung to her thin frame. Beside her, a man in a torn white kaftan stood with a shaking hand on his chest, coughing weakly. Their feet were deep in dirty water. A Danfoss splashed them as it passed. Nobody cared. Benjamin's fingers froze on the steering wheel. Madam Eunice? His breath caught in his throat. For a moment, the noise of Lagos disappeared. He could no longer hear the horns, the shouting traders, or the rumble of engines. All he could see was a memory. A smaller girl in a pink swimming cap. Water. Screams. A woman jumping into the school pool without thinking twice. The light turned green, horns blasted behind him. "Move your car, ogre," someone shouted from behind. Benjamin did not move. His mind was spinning. 7 years ago. The school swimming pool. Eliana going under the water. His heart almost breaking in two. And the nanny. The nanny who saved her. Now that same woman was standing at a busy junction, soaked by rain, begging with an old, sick man by her side. Benjamin swallowed hard. His eyes burned. He put the car in park, ignoring the angry horns, and opened the door. Rain hit him like cold stones. His expensive suit was wet within seconds, but he did not care. He pushed the door shut and stepped into the road, lifting his hand as another car tried to speed past. "Are you mad?" a driver shouted. Benjamin did not answer. He walked quickly toward the woman in blue. Each step felt strange, like he was walking through a dream and could wake up at any time. The closer he got, the more sure he became. It was her, the same face, older, tired. But the eyes were the same kind eyes that once looked at his crying daughter and said, "You are safe now. I've got you." He stopped right in front of her. The woman kept her head low, her hand stretched, palm open, shaking. "Please, anything you have," she whispered to the passing crowd. "Anything. We have not eaten today." Her voice cut through him. "Madam," Benjamin said softly. She looked up, only for a second, then dropped her eyes again quickly, as if she was ashamed to be seen. He saw the shock in that quick look. She had recognized that he was not just another stranger, but shame was a heavy chain around her neck. It's you," he whispered, his throat tight. "Madam Eunice." Her fingers jerked. Her eyes slowly lifted again, this time fully. Up close, Benjamin could see the lines of suffering on her face. The rain washed over her cheeks, mixing with silent tears. "Ogre," she began carefully, voice weak. "Have we met before?" He almost laughed and cried at the same time. "I am Benjamin," he said, his voice shaking. "Benjamin Okafor. Eliana's father. My daughter. You pulled her out of the pool 7 years ago. You You saved her life. The man beside her, the one in the tattered white kaftan, tried to straighten himself but fell into a cough, holding his chest. Madame Eunice's lips parted. Eliana, she whispered, as if the name itself was a light she had not seen in a long time. Your daughter, the little girl, who almost drowned. Benjamin nodded, his eyes now full. Yes, he said. The little girl who almost drowned. For a moment, both of them just stood there in the rain, staring at each other. The world moved around them, cars, umbrellas, shouts, but it felt like time had stopped. I looked for you, Benjamin said suddenly, the words rushing out. After that day, I went back to the school. I wanted to thank you again. I wanted to do something for you, for your family. But they told me you had left. No address, no number. Eunice let out a broken laugh. It was not a happy sound. I did not leave, sir, she said softly. I was pushed out. Benjamin's eyes tightened. What do you mean? She glanced at the man beside her and gently touched his shoulder. He was shivering hard now. This is my husband, Elliot, she said. He has been sick for a long time. There were days I came late to work because I had to clean him, feed him, take him to the clinic. The school said I was not serious. They said I did not respect time. One day, the principal called me and told me not to come back again. Benjamin felt something, hot rise in his chest, anger. Anger at the school. Anger at himself for not finding her. Anger at this city that could swallow good people and spit them out broken. And now you are here, he whispered, almost to himself, on this road, under this rain, begging. Eunice looked away, her eyes full of shame. This is where life placed me, she said. We have no children. It is only me he has. I beg so he can take his medicine. Some days we eat, some days we do not. Today, her voice cracked. Today is one of those days we have not. Another loud horn sounded. Someone shouted at them to get off the road. Benjamin's suit was soaked. Water dripped from his hair onto his face. His shoes were deep in muddy water. But his mind was somewhere else. He saw Eliana's face in his memory, gasping for air, wrapped in a towel, while this same woman pressed on her chest and shouted for help. If she had not been there that day, his daughter would be gone. The world would be empty. He felt his hands tremble. Madame Eunice, he said slowly, you will not stand in this rain one more second. He turned and pointed toward the Bentley. Follow me, both of you, now. Eunice's eyes widened. No, sir, she said quickly. We are dirty. We cannot enter your kind of car. People will look at you. We will stain your seats. Please, Benjamin cut in, his voice firm but gentle. If you refuse, you insult me. You saved my child. Let me do at least one thing right today. Elliot, still shaking, tried to move, but his legs were weak. He stumbled, grabbing onto Eunice's arm. Benjamin stepped forward and caught the older man just before he fell. Elliot's skin was hot with fever. His breathing was rough, like each breath was a battle. We need to get him out of this rain, Benjamin said urgently. Now. He wrapped one arm around Elliot's back and tried to lift him. But at that exact moment, traffic light changed again. Engines roared to life. A truck at the front of the line started to move, splashing a wave of brown water toward them. Benjamin heard one long, sharp horn behind him. He turned his head just in time to see a Danfo swerving too fast, trying to beat the light, sliding on the wet road, straight toward where Benjamin, Eunice, and Elliot were standing. The headlights rushed closer, bright and blinding. Elliot's knees buckled. Eunice screamed. Benjamin tightened his grip. And in that split second, he realized they might all be hit. The headlights grew larger. The Danfo skidded across the wet road, its tires screeching. Passengers inside screamed. Benjamin held Elliot tightly. Eunice covered her face with her hands. For a moment, it felt like the whole world was rushing toward them. Then, HONNNK, screech. The Danfo jerked violently to the side, narrowly missing them by inches before crashing into a puddle with a loud splash. Water drenched all three of them. Benjamin staggered backward, his heart pounding in his ears. Elliot's body shook uncontrollably in his arms. Eunice pressed her hand to her chest, gasping for breath. The Danfo driver stuck his head out of the window and shouted, "Una, no, get sense. Why Una go stand for road?" But Benjamin didn't even hear him. His eyes were on only one thing. Elliot was slipping. His legs went limp. His head fell backward. "Sir, sir, please," Eunice cried. "Help him. Help my husband." Benjamin reacted instantly. He lifted Elliot's arm over his shoulder and half carried, half dragged him toward the Bentley. Cars honked behind them. Someone shouted they were blocking the road. Another driver cursed loudly. Benjamin ignored all of it. "Open the back door," he told Eunice breathlessly. She hesitated, staring at the sleek car with fear and disbelief. Rain dripped from her eyelashes. Her hands trembled. "Sir, I can't. I'm not clean enough to touch your car." Benjamin's voice shook as he snapped. "Madam, if you don't open that door, your husband will collapse in your arms. Please." That finally broke whatever wall of shame she had left. She rushed forward and pulled the door open. Benjamin lowered Elliot carefully inside. The older man groaned weakly, his eyes half open. "Eunice," he whispered. His voice was thin, like it was fading. "I'm here," she cried, holding his hands. "I'm here, my love." Benjamin shut the door, then moved around to the driver's seat. He started the engine with shaking hands. "Where is the nearest hospital?" he asked quickly. Eunice wiped her wet face, thinking fast. "General Hospital," she said. "Just straight down." "Please, sir. Please, help us." "I won't let anything happen to him," Benjamin said, stepping on the accelerator. The Bentley shot forward, cutting through the rain. Inside the car, the air smelled of wet clothes, fever and fear. Elliot coughed violently, holding his chest. Eunice held his head against her shoulder, whispering soft prayers. Benjamin's mind raced. He remembered Eliana's tiny fingers 7 years ago, her skin pale after she was pulled from the water, his wife screaming, the teachers shouting, people running everywhere. And then Eunice, jumping into the pool, dragging a child who wasn't even hers, risking her life without thinking twice. If she hadn't been there that day, if she had arrived a few seconds later, Benjamin swallowed. A cold fear ran through him. He owed his whole world to this woman. Without her, Eliana would be gone. And now Eunice was begging on the street, sick husband beside her, hungry, forgotten, abandoned. No, he couldn't let this be her story. Not while he was alive. Not while he could still change something. The Bentley reached the General Hospital. Benjamin parked right outside the emergency entrance. Ignoring security who tried to wave him to the car park, he jumped out, ran to the back door, and helped Eunice carry Elliot out. Nurses rushed toward them. "Emergency?" one asked. "Yes," Benjamin replied. "He has a high fever, weak pulse, and difficulty breathing." The nurse took one look and shouted, "Bring a stretcher, now!" As they pushed Elliot inside, the fluorescent lights of the hospital revealed something Benjamin hadn't noticed before. Elliot was dangerously thin. Too thin. His eyes were sunken, his cheeks hollow, his lips dry and cracked. He had been sick for a long time. They reached the emergency room doors. A nurse stopped Eunice. "Madam, wait here," she said gently. "We will update you." Elliot looked back at her as the doors started to close. "Eunice," he whispered weakly. "I'm here," she cried. "I'm right here." Then the doors shut. Eunice sank to her knees on the cold hospital floor. She covered her face with both hands and sobbed silently. Her shoulders shook. Her whole body trembled from cold, fear, and exhaustion. Benjamin slowly knelt beside her. He didn't know what to say. For the first time in a long time, the billionaire who always had answers had none. "All this time," he whispered. "All this time you were suffering like this." Eunice wiped her face and looked at him. Really looked at him. "I didn't want anyone to know," she said. "People change when you beg. They don't see you as a person anymore. They see you as a burden." Benjamin felt those words stab him in the chest. "I wish I found you earlier," he whispered. Eunice shook her head gently. "No, sir. You were busy taking care of your daughter. You had your own life. We all walk different roads." Her humility made his throat tighten. Then Benjamin noticed something. Her hands. They were bruised, her knuckles were red. Her palms were torn in places, as if she had been carrying heavy things or working rough jobs. Life had not only broken her heart, it had broken her body. Benjamin stood up slowly and held out his hand to her. "Come," he said softly. "Let's get you warm." She hesitated, looking unsure. Nobody had spoken to her with that kind of kindness in a long time. "Stand, Madam Eunice." She placed her shaking hand in his. He lifted her up gently. Just then, the emergency room doors flew open. A doctor stepped out quickly, eyes serious. "Who brought the patient in?" he asked. Benjamin and Eunice rushed forward. "I did," Benjamin answered. The doctor took a breath. "We ran initial tests. It's not malaria, it's worse." Eunice covered her mouth. Benjamin's heart sank. "What is wrong with him?" he asked. The doctor looked at both of them, his face grave. "His condition is critical. He needs immediate treatment. But before we continue," he paused. "Who is responsible for settling the medical bills?" Benjamin froze. Eunice's eyes widened. Rainwater dripped from her hair onto the hospital tiles. She looked at Benjamin. He looked at her. And neither of them knew what the doctor was about to say next. The hallway felt colder than before. The doctor's question hung in the air like a heavy stone. "Who is responsible for settling the medical bills?" Benjamin's breath caught. Not because he couldn't pay. He could pay for the whole hospital if he wanted, but because the question reminded him of something painful. If he had found Eunice earlier, if he had just pushed harder to locate her 7 years ago, Elliot would not be dying on a hospital bed today. Beside him, Eunice's lips trembled. Her soaked dress clung to her thin body. Her fingers twisted together nervously. She spoke softly, almost whispering. "Doctor, please, treat him first. I will pay, somehow, even if it takes my whole life." Her voice cracked. Benjamin couldn't bear it. "No," he cut in quickly. "Doctor, I will handle the bills, everything." The doctor looked at him with relief. "Very well, sir. We will begin full treatment immediately, but I must warn you." His voice lowered. "His condition is serious. He has a severe infection that has been untreated for too long, and he is very weak." Eunice's knees buckled again, but Benjamin held her before she fell. "Please save him," she begged. "He is all I have." "We will do our best," the doctor promised, then hurried back into the emergency room. The doors shut once again. Eunice's face collapsed into her palms. Benjamin led her gently to a bench in the waiting area. She sat slowly, her hands shaking. For a long time she said nothing. Then, in a fragile voice, she whispered, "Why? Why did you help us?" Benjamin blinked. He wasn't expecting the question. "You saved my daughter," he said simply. "You saved the world I live in. How could I walk past you in the rain like a stranger?" She stared at her hands. "But I am nothing now." Her voice cracked as she said it. "I am just a woman who begs on the street for food. I didn't even have money to buy Panadol for him today." Benjamin felt his chest tighten painfully. "Life changed for me," she continued. "My husband fell sick 3 years ago. I used all our savings. We lost our room. Then I lost my job. And since we had no children, it was only me caring for him." Tears pooled in her eyes. "Every day I prayed for help, but help never came." Benjamin took a slow breath, fighting the lump in his throat. "Help has come now," he said quietly. "Not because of pity, but because you deserve it." Eunice wiped her face with her sleeve. Then she asked a question Benjamin didn't expect. "Sir, how is Eliana?" The name lit something warm inside him. "She is 17 now," he said, a small smile forming. "Beautiful, smart, strong. First year in the university, studying software engineering." Eunice let out a soft gasp. "Software engineering?" Her eyes softened. "She must be a very brilliant girl." "She is," Benjamin said proudly. "And she still remembers you. She remembers the nanny who saved her." Eunice shook her head gently. "No, don't tell her I am here. I don't want her to see me like this." Benjamin stared at her. "Why not?" Eunice pressed her lips together. "Because children should not remember their heroes as beggars." The words tore straight through him. Before he could answer, footsteps echoed from the emergency doors. A nurse walked toward them with a clipboard. "Madam Eunice?" Eunice stood up quickly. Benjamin rose with her. The nurse glanced at her notes. "Your husband has been stabilized. He is still unconscious, but he is responding to treatment." Eunice covered her mouth, tears springing again. "Can we see him?" she asked. "Yes," the nurse said. "One person at a time." Eunice turned to Benjamin. "Please, go in first." Benjamin shook his head. "No, he needs to hear your voice before mine. Go to him." Eunice nodded gratefully and followed the nurse inside. The door closed behind them. Benjamin sat back down on the bench. The rain outside had stopped, but the air still smelled wet. The hospital hallway grew quiet. For the first time since he saw Eunice at the junction, Benjamin had a moment to breathe. But breathing didn't make him feel better. Instead, memories he had buried years ago began to rise inside him. The drowning, the screaming, the tiny body floating, and the fear, the terrifying fear of losing a child. He shut his eyes tight. He remembered kneeling beside the pool, holding Eliana's cold, wet hand. He remembered begging God to give her one more breath. And Eunice, he remembered how she didn't walk away after saving Eliana. She stayed until Eliana slept. She stayed until he stopped shaking. She stayed until he said, "Thank you." That night, he promised himself he would find a way to bless her life, but he didn't. And now she was begging on the street. Benjamin opened his eyes and looked at the emergency door. "Never again," he whispered to himself. He did not know exactly what he planned to do for her, but he knew one thing clearly. He would not let this woman suffer again. Not one more day. Not as long as he lived. He was still lost in thought when the emergency room doors opened again. Eunice stepped out. Her face was wet with tears, but for the first time, there was a small smile, a tired, shaky smile on her lips. "He is awake," she said. "He asked for you." Benjamin stood up instantly, but before he could move, Eunice held his arm gently. "Sir," she whispered, "please don't tell him I was begging. He carries enough shame already." Benjamin nodded. "I won't." She smiled gratefully and let go of his arm. Then she added softly, "Sir, after you see him, there is something important I need to tell you." Benjamin paused. "Something important?" Eunice nodded slowly. Her eyes looked nervous, afraid, almost like she didn't know how to say what she had been carrying inside. "Something I never told anyone," she whispered. "Something I should have said 7 years ago." Benjamin's heartbeat quickened. "What is it?" he asked. Eunice looked at the floor. "I will tell you," she said. "But not here. And not yet. Please, just see Elliot first." She turned away. Benjamin hesitated only a second, then walked toward the emergency doors. As he reached for the handle, a doctor suddenly stepped out, almost bumping into him. "Oh, Sir Benjamin," he said quickly. "I was looking for you." Benjamin frowned. "Is something wrong?" The doctor nodded, tense. "Yes. We found something else in Elliot's test results. Something you need to see immediately." Benjamin froze mid-step. "What exactly did you find?" he asked. The doctor handed him a file. Benjamin opened it slowly, and his eyes widened in shock. Benjamin stared at the file in disbelief. The medical papers trembled in his hand, but not because of the cold hospital air. The information inside hit him like a blow. The doctor lowered his voice. "Sir, this is serious. Elliot did not just collapse from infection. He has been battling this illness for years without proper care." Benjamin swallowed hard. "Yes, I know that." "No, sir," the doctor said gently. "There is something else. Something emotional patients hide. Something that worsens with stress." Benjamin's chest tightened. "What do you mean?" The doctor took a deep breath. "Sir, he has been sick, but he has also been breaking himself apart with guilt." Benjamin blinked. "Guilt? For what?" The doctor held his gaze. "Over something he did 7 years ago." Benjamin's heart froze. 7 years ago? That was the year Eliana almost drowned. The doctor continued quietly. "We did a mental health evaluation. While he was drifting in and out of consciousness, he kept repeating 2 things. Tell her I'm sorry, and I should have told them the truth. Benjamin's pulse quickened. Told who what truth? The doctor shook his head. I don't know. He didn't say more. But sir, whatever he is hiding, it has been eating him from the inside. Benjamin closed the file slowly. His mind was racing. Was this the important thing Eunice had been afraid to say? He turned away from the doctor and moved toward the emergency door, heart pounding. But before he could open it, Sir Benjamin! He turned. Eunice was walking toward him, tears on her cheeks, something heavy behind her eyes. Please, she whispered. I need to talk. Before you see him. Benjamin nodded slowly. Eunice? The doctor said Elliot has been carrying guilt from 7 years ago. He kept repeating something about a truth he never told. Eunice closed her eyes, her lips shaking. I know. That answer hit Benjamin harder than he expected. You know? He asked quietly. Eunice nodded painfully. I came here to tell you exactly that. It's time you heard everything. Benjamin's stomach tightened. Tell me. But Eunice didn't speak. She sat slowly on a bench, covering her face with both hands, as if she needed strength to continue. Benjamin sat beside her, waiting. After a long moment, she lifted her head. Her voice was soft but steady, like she had accepted that this truth could not stay buried anymore. 7 years ago, the day Eliana almost drowned. Something happened before she fell into the pool. Benjamin leaned forward, listening closely. That day, Eunice continued, Elliot came to the school to give me food. He was still strong then. He stayed outside the gate. But he saw something he should have told you immediately. Benjamin's eyebrows drew together. What did he see? Eunice took a shaky breath. He saw who pushed Eliana. Benjamin's body stiffened. He felt cold spreading across his chest. What did you just say? Eunice's voice trembled. Eliana did not fall into the pool by accident. She was pushed. Benjamin felt like the floor beneath him disappeared. The buzzing hospital lights grew louder in his ears. His voice came out low and dangerous. Who pushed my daughter? Eunice wiped her tears. Elliot didn't know the girl's name, but it was one of the older students. She was jealous because Eliana got the lead role in the school play. Elliot saw her push Eliana, then run away. Benjamin's jaw clenched, his heart pounded violently. How could he hide that? He demanded. How could he keep such a thing from me? Eunice shook her head quickly. He didn't hide it because he wanted to. He tried to tell the principal, but they shut him up and sent him away from the school. They said they wouldn't listen to the husband of a nanny. They said if we caused trouble, they would fire me. Benjamin's hands tightened into fists. 7 years ago, a teacher had told him nobody knew what happened. 7 years ago, he believed it was an accident. 7 years ago, he trusted the school. And they lied. But why didn't you tell me yourself? Benjamin asked softly, pain creeping into his voice. I wanted to, Eunice whispered, her eyes glistening. Many times. But when they sacked me, when life became too hard, when Elliot fell sick, when we lost everything, every day I told myself that burden was not mine anymore. She shook her head slowly. But seeing you today, I know I cannot keep. Put it inside again. Benjamin leaned back against the wall, breath shaky. Someone pushed Eliana. A child attacked his daughter. And an entire school covered it up. He felt anger rising, thick and boiling. But beneath that anger was something deeper. Guilt. Guilt that while Eunice and Elliot were suffering, he was living comfortably, unaware of the truth they carried. He turned to Eunice. Why didn't Elliot tell Eliana? He asked. Eunice wiped her tears. He didn't want to spoil her childhood. He always said, let the child heal. Pain will break her spirit. Benjamin felt something shift inside him. He suddenly understood why Elliot had been crushed with guilt for years. He had carried a truth alone, without support, while sickness ate his strength. And now Benjamin held that truth in his hands. He ran his fingers through his hair, frustrated. This changes everything. Eunice nodded sadly. I know. Before he could say another word, the emergency door opened again. A nurse stepped out urgently. Sir Benjamin, Madam Eunice, please come quickly. Eunice's heart jumped. "What happened?" she gasped. The nurse's face was pale. "It's your husband. He is awake." But what?" Eunice cried. The nurse hesitated. "He's asking for both of you. He wants to confess something important before his heartbeat drops again." Benjamin's eyes widened. "Heartbeat drops?" Eunice clutched Benjamin's arm, trembling violently. They rushed toward the emergency room. The nurse opened the door, and there, on the hospital bed, Elliot lay weak, his breathing shallow, his eyes barely open. He looked at Benjamin, then at Eunice, and whispered, "I have one more thing to tell you, something even she doesn't know." Benjamin froze. Eunice gasped. Elliot's voice shook. "It's about Eliana." The heart monitor beeped unevenly. Each sound felt like a ticking clock, pushing Elliot closer to the edge. Eunice gripped her husband's cold hand. Benjamin stepped closer to the bed, chest tight, pulse racing. Elliot opened his eyes weakly. "I don't have much time," he whispered, breath shaking. "I must tell you, before my strength leaves me again." "Elliot, please," Eunice cried. "Don't talk like you're dying. You will be fine." He shook his head slowly. "No, my love. Let me talk. I must." Benjamin swallowed hard. "What is it about Eliana?" he asked. "Please, tell me." Elliot's breathing grew shallow. His lips trembled. "7 years ago, after the girl pushed your daughter, I ran to call help. But something else happened at the pool. Something nobody knows." Benjamin leaned forward. "What happened?" Elliot blinked slowly. "When I got to the poolside, Eliana was not moving, her head was sinking. I jumped in first." He paused, coughing, tears sliding down his cheeks. "I reached her. Before Eunice did. I held her. I tried to lift her up. I tried to carry her out. But my chest started tightening. I was weaker than I thought. I felt myself sinking too." Eunice gasped sharply. "You never told me this." Elliot nodded painfully. "Yes, because I was ashamed. I failed. I almost let both of us drown." Benjamin's eyes softened. His voice was quiet. "So you didn't save her?" Elliot shook his head. "No, I couldn't. My strength gave out. I lost hold of her." He squeezed his eyes shut. "I watched her slip out of my hands, and I thought, this child will die because of me." Eunice covered her mouth, tears falling uncontrollably. "And then," Elliot whispered. Eunice jumped. She threw herself into the water, without thinking. She grabbed Eliana, but I was under the water by then. She could have saved only your daughter and left me. But she came back for me too." Benjamin felt his breath. "Catch! She saved 2 people that day," Elliot whispered. "But she never told you, because she didn't want glory. And I never told you, because I was ashamed I failed." Benjamin felt tears gather unexpectedly. "And the principal?" Benjamin asked softly. "He expelled Eunice because she was late taking care of you, but never told us the truth." Elliot nodded slowly. "Yes. They wanted to avoid trouble. They didn't want you to know the school was careless. They said if I kept quiet, they would give Eunice a chance to stay. But they lied. They fired her anyway." Eunice sobbed harder, her head lowering to the bed. Benjamin felt anger boil inside him, but beneath the anger was something deeper. Respect, gratitude, and a painful realization. Both Eunice and Elliot had lived 7 years carrying burdens they never deserved. Benjamin took a long breath. "Elliot," he said softly, "you did not fail. You tried. You gave all the strength you had. Eunice finished what you started." Elliot tried to smile weakly. "I'm glad you think so." His voice thinned. "Please, Sir Benjamin." Benjamin stepped closer. "Yes, I'm here. Take care of Eunice. She deserves a home, a family, kindness. She has suffered enough." Benjamin felt his throat tighten. "I promise," he said firmly. "With everything I have in me, I promise." Elliot nodded slowly, weakly, gratefully. Then he whispered something that broke every heart in the room. "She saved your daughter, but she saved me first." Eunice broke down completely, falling to her knees beside the bed. "No, Elliot, don't say that. Please stay with me. You will not leave me." Benjamin quickly signaled a nurse. "His pulse is dropping," the nurse shouted. More nurses rushed in. Machines beeped loudly. The doctor ran forward. "Clear the room, please." "No, please let me stay," Eunice cried, grabbing Elliot's arm. Benjamin gently pulled her back before she collapsed. The door closed in front of them. Eunice cried into Benjamin's chest, shaking all over. He held her tightly, whispering, "He will be fine. He will be fine." But Benjamin himself didn't know if he was saying it for her or for himself. Hours later, the door finally opened. Eunice jumped up. Benjamin stood beside her, tense. The doctor stepped out, face exhausted but calm. "He's stable," he said. Eunice fell to her knees, crying in relief. Benjamin let out a long breath. "But," the doctor added gently, "he will need long-term treatment. If he gets proper care, rest and medication, he will fully recover." Benjamin placed a hand on Eunice's shoulder. "I'll take care of everything. He will get the best treatment in this country." Eunice cried harder, bowing her head. Thank you, sir." Benjamin lifted her gently. "No, thank you," he said softly, "for saving my daughter, for saving a life that meant everything to me." Benjamin drove Eunice home, not to the tiny wooden kiosk she once slept in, not under a bridge, not to the road corner where she begged. He drove her to his mansion. His security guards looked shocked when they saw the weak older woman in his arms. "Prepare a guest room," Benjamin ordered, "and send someone to the hospital to watch Elliot. No one leaves his side until I arrive." "Yes, sir." Eunice stood frozen. "Sir, I cannot stay here. This is too much." Benjamin shook his head. "You are family. Eliana will be happy to see you." Just as he finished talking, a young girl ran down the stairs. "Daddy, you're back." Eliana froze when she saw the woman beside him. Her eyes widened. "Madam, Eunice?" The recognition was instant. Memories of a bright swimming pool, a strong pair of arms, a warm voice saying, "You're safe," all rushed back. Eliana ran forward and hugged her tightly. Madam Eunice burst into tears, holding her like she was holding her own child. "My baby," she whispered. "Look at you. You grew into a woman." Eliana cried too. "You saved my life. Daddy told me everything." Benjamin watched them, his eyes soft, heart full. For the first time in years, he felt something settle inside him. The past was finally healing. Years later, Elliot recovered fully. Benjamin paid for his treatment, his medication, everything. Eunice became like a second mother in the mansion. Elliot called Benjamin son. They called Eliana their granddaughter. They lived with dignity, with peace, with honor. Then, Eliana graduated from the university as the best student in software engineering. Elliot walked proudly beside her. Eunice cried the entire ceremony. 2 years later, Eliana met Henry, a top banker. Love grew, families blended. And on her wedding day, the entire hall went silent when the doors opened. Everyone expected Benjamin to walk Eliana down the aisle. But Eliana held someone else's hand. Madam Eunice, the woman who once begged in the rain, the woman who once felt invisible, the woman whose kindness changed destinies. As they stepped into the aisle, tears streamed down Eunice's face. "I never imagined," she whispered, "that a small act of kindness would bring me here." Eliana squeezed her hand. "That small act saved my life," she whispered back. Benjamin watched from the front row, eyes full of pride and gratitude. From the busy Lagos junction to this bright, beautiful moment, life had come full circle. The once poor Nanny and her sick husband were now honored as grandparents, as family, as heroes. Kindness had found its way home. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.